All right, YouTube. Clinton has maintained for some months now that during her tenure at the State Department, there was no quid pro quo. There was no pay to play going on. Essentially, she didn't give favors for donations. She didn't appoint people for donations. She didn't hold visits with foreign dignitaries or do other things for people for donating to the Clinton Foundation. It now turns out this is completely and provably false. There is a WikiLeaks email where Huma Abedin herself appears almost to be criticizing Clinton, which is something I'm not sure that I expected to see over a Moroccan meeting, a CGI meeting, that has to do with phosphate mining. Funnily enough, blood phosphates are mentioned in the Daily Caller article about this. Apparently, what happened is that Clinton set up a meeting there with this syndicate, you could call it, essentially a criminal syndicate, if the human rights watchers are any indication in what they're apparently saying about these firms in Morocco. She set up this meeting after getting a $12 million donation. Huma Abedin helpfully explains that the Moroccans certainly consider it to have been something that they bought. They bought Hillary Clinton's presence at their meeting there and then went on to praise her. Hillary never actually ended up going, but Chelsea and Bill Clinton did in her stead, not only, I believe, to that meeting, but several other trips, sort of to sweeten the deal, I suppose. What's bothersome to me here, perhaps, more than the idea of somebody having pay to play with Morocco, because Morocco, keeping it in context, Morocco was the first nation we had a treaty of friendship with. I don't have any problem with Morocco. It's not your standard Islamic sort of North African tyrant state. Human rights violations, yeah, typical, third world nation as far as that goes, but a relatively stable nation. One that's respectable, one that tries to keep, I guess, terrorists out and so forth. So I have no problem with the Moroccan people. But the idea of her meeting with a bunch of corporate conglomerates there, holding a meeting with people who have been blasted by human rights watchers, as well as the mere fact that it was pay to play in general, regardless of what nation we're talking about. I think sometimes people assume that pay to play or quid pro quo in the sense of the Clinton Foundation means with the Saudis or other specifically tyrannical regimes. But even in the case where it's a more mundane, more benign regime like that in Morocco, it's still worrisome that somebody that high, that close to the President of the United States, was running a foundation in which political favors were given in exchange for large sums of money. It's extremely concerning. It's like when I said the other day, how can Clinton conduct a diplomacy that involves Russia? If she's elected, how can she do that since she's spent months on the campaign trail blaming them for everything, saying that Russian aggression, which in some cases is real and in other cases appears not to be, is virulent and horrible, that we need to encircle the Chinese, that we need to run a no-fly zone in Syria and so forth. How can she conduct diplomacy with them? It's not clear how she can do so fairly because they're automatically alienated too who would be the President of the United States if she's elected. Likewise, with these countries that maybe a fiscal relationship existed, whether it was in these cases primarily a good relationship, I guess, with the Moroccans, how can she be unbiased? What happens if the U.S. is involved in something where it's trying to conduct diplomacy as a form of arbitration, maybe between Morocco and Libya or something, or Morocco and Algeria? We can't do that fairly if somebody who is in a position to oversee everything that would happen on a diplomatic level and say yay or nay to any suggestion that's made. It's not clear that she would be able to be unbiased in such a situation. When the DNC says, well, we have reason to believe Trump has business with the Russians, so he can't be unbiased towards them, I would counter that by saying your candidate also can't be unbiased because of her statements on the campaign trail. Additionally, not just with Russia, but with many of these other states, certainly Saudi Arabia and Qatar, now apparently Morocco, a growing list of states that she can't adequately perform diplomatic relationships with as the head of state of the United States. It would be impossible. Some of these nations that you're talking about have long simmering territorial disputes over resources, over culture, over some war that happened 50, 100 years ago, over colonialism and so forth. it behooves us to have a leader who's capable of being unbiased. Because if tensions erupt between these nations, the United States would be in a position, not talking about, well, we'll march in and restore order, but we can conduct diplomacy, try to get people to the table, and try to stave off fighting. That should be a better role for the United States to be in than world policing, because then you don't have to do world policing if things remain calm. That's why I say that our foreign policy has been so bad for so long. We keep trying to use brute military force. And what people, I think often, increasingly Democrats, it was Republicans a decade ago that didn't seem to realize this. Many of the neocon warmongers then backed the invasion of Iraq, backed the idea of, well, maybe we should take out North Korea, maybe we should flatline Iran, maybe we should attack Libya. Finally, of course, Clinton gets in, the Democrats get in, they do attack Libya, which is what a no-fly zone is, an act of war. That's what they did in Libya. They tried to overthrow the government of Egypt. They apparently attempted to do that in Syria. It's not working so well. And now we're back in Iraq. We're actually back at war in the state of Iraq right now. The retaking of Mosul has caused an American life. We're on the ground there, even if it's in a limited back row capacity. We're at war back in Iraq. We're also at war now in Syria, essentially. The rhetoric coming from D.C. is warmongering. It's an act of war to even suggest, in my opinion, what's going on. If Russia were to casually suggest, well, maybe we should run a no-fly zone over Poland or over Turkey and oust the government there, the United States would say that's an act of war if you do that. Why is it any different when we suggest something in an area where the Russians are operating? That's what I would ask. As far as the quid pro quo here, it is fairly damning. Because this isn't just Podesta, it isn't just Donna Brazil or someone that's more loosely connected to Clinton talking about these things. It's Huma Abedin, her top aide, somebody apparently she trusted as much as she trusts her own daughter, literally refers to as her other daughter. Somebody who probably sat in on every classified conversation during her tenure at the State Department. Somebody who handled her emails, somebody who picked up dignitaries for her, apparently potentially compromised information when the Indian ambassador actually was coming in. Another email had her talking about burner material, and Hillary suggested stash it in the trunk or the glove compartment. I can't remember, something insane like that. Oh, yeah, here's some confidential material. Just throw it in the fucking trunk. It doesn't matter. It's the Indian ambassador, not the North Korean ambassador, so maybe they worried less. It's very, very concerning to me that if Hillary Clinton is elected, she's not going to be able to conduct diplomacy with any of these nations. Because some of them will owe her favors, some of them she will owe favors, some of them she has business with and they potentially have dirt on her, and that's the other big problem here. The other big problem is that if she took money in an untoward fashion from any of these countries, not just the leaks that we've already heard about, but if she took some slush fund money from the Saudis, maybe some slush fund money from the Chinese or the Russians or the Saudis or anybody else under the sun, what if that regime approaches her after she's elected in this hypothetical scenario and says, oh, yeah, you remember that 10 million, that 15 million that we gave you? Huh, we've got evidence of it. I think that you should not pass this law. Or I think that you should lobby for this bill because it would benefit our business in some way. Oh, you should reduce this regulation here on foreign oil exports is damaging to our exports. Get rid of it. Otherwise, we go public. And it's not an unthinkable situation. Apparently, we now know for a fact, based on what Huma Abedin in this email is saying, there was a quid pro quo there with Morocco. Why then would we not assume that there was a quid pro quo with all the other donors to the Clinton Foundation? Now, it seemed obvious anyway. Why do you think the Saudis gave the Clinton Foundation $25 million? Do you honestly believe they care about AIDS treatment? Do you honestly think they care about women's reproductive health? Do you honestly think that the House of Saud cares about these things? They don't give a hell. They don't care. Clearly, they gave her that money for a political reason. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if we get to hear all about it in the coming few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that there are other emails that implicate similar schemes. Because now we've got evidence it at least happened once, which means that her denial of quid pro quo is undeniably a lie. It was a complete fabrication when she claimed it wasn't going on. We know that it was going on. This, by the way, I'm fairly sure should be investigated by Congress and should lead to criminal charges, because I'm pretty sure that it's illegal to do that. Oh, the Moroccans gave me 12 million. Yeah, I'll show you up for your meeting. Oh, well, I can't make it because I got to go be president. So here's Bill. Keep him away from the women in your temples or whatever. Make sure that keep him on a tight leash. Chelsea, she can wander around freely. Just get Bill drunk. He'll pass out, and you can just take pictures of him drunk or something. Haha, I don't care. Which is probably what happened. But yeah, she's compromised our national intelligence, and then rants about how WikiLeaks is compromising our national, our integrity, our security, or something like that. It's very funny. People are still trying and failing increasingly, by the way, to shoot the messenger. And I'll say again, like I said earlier, I don't believe WikiLeaks is compromised. Their tweet regarding the outage map there, oh, well, you can stop now, they've got the point. That might have been a tongue-in-cheek joke, honestly. And remember, WikiLeaks is not omnipresent. They don't know everything that's going on. They're not omniscient. So maybe they do think that that's the result, where the attacks came from, the distributed denial of service. But they may be wrong, and it's possible, unless they have an email apparently about what went on. It'd be very funny. But yeah, there was pay to play. There was quid pro quo going on with the Clinton Foundation. This is far more damaging, I think, than people realize right now. Maybe tomorrow it'll hit the news cycle and people will get to see this analyzed. That, and the other thing was Clinton revealing one of our sensitive nuclear secrets. Now, the 4-minute response time, I'm pretty sure that all of our major adversaries, if they've got any intelligence force at all, probably already at least roughly guessed what our response time was. Apparently, the military is not too happy with the fact that she spoke about that on the debate stage. It sounds like she knew that because she was already in the White House as the First Lady, and she wasn't really supposed to mention that, because then it sort of makes it an official guesstimate of what our response time would be. That's worrying too. Do you really trust somebody with the nuclear triggers that apparently spills the beans about a nuclear secret on a debate stage in front of the entire world? Trump didn't do that. It was rather funny. I don't see it as a major issue because I don't think it will actually endanger our nuclear capabilities. But could she have breached some major top secret protocol in saying that? Maybe so. Maybe Ash Carter's going to come out and throw the book at her or something like that. Of course, Obama muzzles all these people. They're not actually going to do that. As far as the Clinton Foundation goes, it's becoming precarious for her campaign. It's getting harder and harder for her to address all these scandals. There's a reason she's not talking to people. She's afraid of implicating herself. Now, if O'Keefe and or WikiLeaks are both correct in what they plan to reveal next week, O'Keefe on, I believe, Monday with video part 3 of the rigged elections, which is, he says it implicates Hillary directly, as well as Donna Brazile. If that's the case, it might be the big footage, as in the big shebang. Maybe Hillary's black disparagement boils down to, oh, well, we're going to target these black communities by talking about welfare and don't talk about anything else because no one cares. Some deep-seated stereotyping or something will go on. It's possible. It's entirely possible that's what they have. This election has gone completely off the rails. I'm loving it. I don't see the problem with a chaotic election. At the very least, it's not boring like Romney-Obama, McCain-Obama, Kerry and Bush or some stupidity like that. It's not boring. You know that the same people that most of the population hates, the lamestream legacy media, corporate heads, the big bankers, that really screw everybody equal. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, gay, straight, Republican, Democrat. You're getting screwed by these people. Now, they're all in bed with the Clinton campaign. People are waking up to that fact. I think some of them are being rudely awakened. They want to hate Trump because they see him as a sexist or a bigot or something. They don't want to hate Hillary Clinton, but increasingly it's becoming very difficult for them to defend her because it's so absolutely clear that she's literally, and I don't say this lightly, she's literally the most corrupt person to ever seek this office. She's far more corrupt than somebody like Trump. She makes Obama look like a good lad going to, Sunday school or something like that. And Obama's had his own scandals as well. She also makes people like Richard Nixon on foreign policy look like they were peaceniks. So it's beginning to piss people off. I'm not surprised that there's significant poll movement. You're going to see it better reflected in the coming week. That's about all. Peace out.